Hello, everyone, and welcome to MiniCon. So glad to see so many of you guys have joined us today. So we'll just wait for a couple of minutes for a few more to join us. But before we begin, important MiniCon, let me give you some reminders about what MiniCon is and how to get tickets. So if you haven't got tickets for the MiniCon sessions, please do so soon because we don't have that many tickets left. And you can attend a session and get a certificate for your job, for LinkedIn. So after every presentation you see, you can get a certificate. So it's really important for something, if you want to showcase the conferences you've attended, this is a great way for you to do it. So there will be a link for the MiniCons. Please don't forget to attend all our great presentations that we have. Now, if you are an APC or English Unlimited student, don't forget to enter APC's biggest competition, and it's called Growth Stories, where you have to make 1-minute videos and you could win a laptop, a JBL speaker, or AirPods. So you have to submit your video by the 16th of September, but you have to be an APC or English Unlimited student to enter. So let me repeat, you're gonna get a laptop, a JBL speaker, or AirPods if you win. So don't forget to enter our Growth Stories competition. That's really exciting. These are some of the best prizes they've ever had. So I want to compete almost. And also, it's great to see so many non-APC students here today. And if you are really interested in studying English or studying a vocational course, please go to apc.edu.au. So let me repeat that, apc.edu.au, and you can get a plethora of courses and different options to extend your visa, to study further. So that's something to consider if you're not an APC or English Limited student. Now, we're going to have a presentation by Tyson today, who's a careers counsellor, podcast host, and co-founder of Arrive and Thrive. He's passionate about individuals and developing a meaningful career. So in this workshop today, he's going to be focusing on the important elements of the personal brand and what goes into both offline and online through the use of LinkedIn, basic networking habits, and developing a pitch. So before further ado, I'll let Tyson take over and give you this amazing talk that he's going to be giving today. But if you have any questions, there is a Q&A button. So if you look below on your screen, you can see a Q&A button. So this is your opportunity to ask Tyson any questions. And at the end of the session, we will ask him these specific questions. So please don't forget to use the Q&A button. So enough of me. So Tyson, thank you so much for giving this presentation to us today.
Thanks, Ivan. Really appreciate it. Cool, guys. So as we said, my name's Tyson Day. I'm a careers counsellor. I run a company called Arrive and Thrive, and we specialise in helping people find meaningful work and develop meaningful careers. So you can follow our updates on Instagram, LinkedIn. We have a podcast that comes out and on Spotify and iTunes, and we've got new episodes coming out in September. So it's a pleasure to be along with you all today. And I just wanted to say, thank you so much for attending. I'm based in Melbourne, in Victoria, and I know we're in current restrictions and lockdown. And I know for many of us, we're perhaps in New South Wales, where you're experiencing a similar thing. And you've probably been experiencing it for longer than we have. So my heart goes out to you all. But at the same time, let's try and maximize this time together and learn a little bit around personal branding and LinkedIn and how you can develop a career here in Australia as well as an add-on further to your experience that you've already got. So let's jump straight in. So the first thing I want to do is just check in with everyone, and we're going to launch a poll through Zoom around our user experience on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn becomes a big part of our experience when it comes to personal branding and networking. So if you could answer the first couple of questions. So we've got the first one: do you have a LinkedIn profile? How often do you use LinkedIn? So some of us might have a LinkedIn profile, but we don't use it too often. We might only use it weekly or monthly, perhaps never if we don't have a LinkedIn profile. And the last question: how often do you post on LinkedIn? So quite often people will have a profile and we might like other people's content or engage with other people's content, but we don't necessarily post ourselves. And that's a common thing. So we just want to check in with everyone first and foremost to see where they're at with their LinkedIn user ability. So if you could go ahead and do that poll, we'll give you guys a couple more seconds to do that. Awesome that we've got 94 participants on the call. So that's amazing. Please pop any of those questions that you want answered around any of the content that we go through so we can get to them at the end. We've got a lot to get through. So if we can get those poll results, that would be awesome. We can share them with the rest of the crew. While we wait for those answers to come through, we can jump in and start to talk about the concept of a personal brand. So when we talk about a personal brand, it's our perception or our impression of an individual in a personal and professional way. So for many of us, when we've either established our career, and for some of us on the call, we might already have quite an established career and you're learning English to advance that or to, transition or do something within your work. We already have an established personal brand, and we think of people, who have really good personal brands, maybe some celebrities and those types of things. But as individuals and potential professionals, we all have a personal brand that we can, cultivate and ensure that it's in a positive space for us to open up work opportunities. Now we've got the poll results back. This is great. So we've got a lot of people on the call who have a LinkedIn profile. A few guys that don't, that's totally fine. We've got a bit of a breakdown. So sometimes people use it daily. Few people use it weekly. Majority of us use it monthly or never. So we'll go through some basics around using it. And then we've also got a lot of people who never post on LinkedIn. And we've got a handful of people that post sometimes and one person that posts often. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down around how you can start to post, some things to keep in mind for your profile to really, support your personal brand. So let's jump back in. So when we refer to networking, as a business and social activity that is completed both online and face-to-face. For many of us, when we're looking at networking, we can often think that it's just focused on either business meetings or just, networking on LinkedIn, where this day and age, we have a blend of both. And it's important to have skills and abilities in both talking to people face-to-face as well as talking and engaging with others online. Okay. Now, when we refer to LinkedIn and, the process of networking, the statistics don't lie. So we can see here that 85% of jobs are filled through networking. So I guarantee that most of us on the call who already have a job, or if you're lucky enough to still be working through the lockdown, I'm certain that most of you would have got your job through a friend or someone that you know. And that's the process of networking. 72% of people say their impressions are impacted by how someone appears in their handshake. So handshakes are really, really important, particularly here in Australian business culture. Handshakes are really important. Back to pre-COVID, now we shake hands with our elbow, or we do the peace sign or just wave. But prior to COVID, when we were shaking people's hands in job interviews and those types of things, are really, really important. We can also see here that only 11% of LinkedIn users have more than 100 people in their network. So for a lot of us, if we have a profile, it's also important to build our network and our connections. And whenever I refer to connections on the call today, I refer to your business or personal and professional relationships. So if you think about it as Facebook and you've got friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, you have connections, very similar concept. It's people that you've either come across with your work or you're following to see updates within your industry and so forth. Now, for you guys, the process of mapping our connections is really important. And so what we mean by this is that you are a part of many different communities. If it's online, back when you're attending school face-to-face, within your university system, within your previous work experiences, or on your current job, we're connected to a lot of different people. And a part of networking is also looking at who can support us along our career journey. So for this person here in the middle, they might play, basketball. They might also be a part of a band, play the violin or something. They've also involved in online communities down in the right-hand corner, and they've also got friends that they meet regularly face-to-face. So we want to make sure that you've got the right skills and abilities to be able to use those connections to the best of your ability. Because I know when you're looking for work and you're looking for opportunities, we want to go to the people that we know first to then hopefully facilitate an introduction to people that we don't know, and therefore they become a part of our connections and our network. And that's how we can grow our network, through people that we know, and then building those relationships over time through the things like LinkedIn, and also meeting up with people face-to-face and having coffees and socializing in that regard. So as we said before, there's an element of online networking. So we've got LinkedIn, Facebook, social media, depending on your industry. Instagram might be really important if you're in design or if you're in artistic areas, so you can showcase your work. And then we've got face-to-face. So this is when we have coffees. We might have a walking meeting where you walk around with someone and you have a specific meeting. You might be going to industry events back when events could happen, or you might, have a book club or something that you're a part of. These are all elements of networking, and these happen both online and face-to-face in the professional landscape. Now, the first part that we're going to do is focus on face-to-face networking. Now, I know for many of us, we might be going, well, this is great, Ty, but we're not really going to get the chance to do much face-to-face networking at the moment with lockdowns and restrictions here in Australia. But I would challenge you to develop a pitch, so when we are able to get back out, face-to-face connections and things like that, you've got the opportunity and you've got the framework there to communicate your skills and introduce yourself and your experience and your future focus. So let's have a look at what goes into a pitch. So when we're talking about a pitch framework, it goes into four main categories. So the piece around who you are, so your name, your position, or your school that you're currently at. Your skills as well. So focus on 2 critical skills that you want the listener to understand. This could also mean a passion or an interest, okay? Depending on the context that you're talking to the person. The next part is your experience. So what enabled you to develop these skills? And the last part is your future focus. And this is sharing your vision and your career aspirations. So quite often when we are starting out in our work, we can get a little bit embarrassed around what our career visions are and our big aspirations. What I'd love you guys to do is try and think about ways in which you can share that, because it's quite often if we don't necessarily put a plan in place, we can't necessarily get to our goals and our specific career visions that we want to achieve. So it's important that you share these, because you never know who you might be sharing it with, who can help you and support you in making those dreams and career aspirations come true. So you might be thinking, okay, if I have a pitch, what can I actually use my pitch for? Now, there's 3 main points that I've put in here, which is around anything from developing study pathways. So if you're wanting to do further study here in Australia or around the globe, are you wanting to focus on a specific study pathway that you could put in your future focus? Are you currently looking for casual work? Again, if you go and put your resume in, or if you're applying for a job or you're having a digital interview and someone says, tell me about yourself, you can use your pitch for this particular piece of communication. Also work experience as well. So if you are changing industries and you're looking to volunteer or looking to gain an internship, you can again tailor your pitch to those types of opportunities. So one thing that we want you guys to think about is when you're thinking about your skills, I also want you to think about what we refer to as identity capital. So this is anything that you've gained over time. So assets, anything that you've experienced. So for a lot of us, we've experienced travel. For a lot of us, we're bilingual as well. So being able to, talk in multiple different languages is huge assets for companies and businesses. And so don't be afraid to include these in your pitch as well. Now, I've developed an example of a pitch that for some of us might resonate. So we can see here, my name is Sam Chu. I'm an international student at APC. I have a passion for digital marketing, in particular, social media marketing. I've developed this through my involvement with managing social media accounts for charities and startup businesses back in Malaysia. I'm currently looking for an internship where I can build my employment experiences here in Australia. So here we can see that Sam clearly has a passion for marketing and social media. She's also developed this through managing social media accounts for charities and startup businesses back home in Malaysia. And she's currently looking for an internship where she can build her employment experience here in Australia. Now, I must say, Sam Chu is actually a real person. She's our community manager here at Arrive and Thrive. And she was an international student who's now a gun digital marketer. So one of those important factors is when you're starting to develop your pitch, this will change over time. So quite often when you are starting to meet new people in Australia, you might use your pitch for just social connection. So you might be looking to play futsal or soccer or football with other students or with other people. And you might use that in terms of saying, I'm currently looking for any social opportunity to play soccer or football, as this is a huge passion of mine. It doesn't always have to be in a professional context. So that's important to remember. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you guys 5 minutes to develop your own pitch now. Okay, so I know we're strapped for time with this with this webinar. We want to get through a lot of content for you guys, but I think it's really important to take some time now to develop your pitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this up on the slides here for you to have as a reference. We'll make sure also that you get these slides as a PDF at the end of the session. I'll share that with the APC guys as well. Okay, cool. So take 5 minutes now, try and develop a pitch that you feel comfortable with. Think about your experience. Think about, what you're hoping to achieve here in Australia or back home if you're currently back home in your home country. Think about your types of career visions that you're hoping to hit. Okay, I know for me personally, when I first started out in my education at university, my career has changed and adapted, and my pitch has constantly changed and adapted as well. And I know, speaking to a lot of international students, it's important to, have a pitch and a framework to be able to use when you need to speak to someone in an interview, or even if you're just starting to try and connect with people outside of your studies and inside your studies as well. So have a go. And remember, if you've got any questions about the pitch process, feel free to put them in the Q&A so we can get to them and help you out. I think I just dropped out there for a second. So hopefully you can all hear me and we're back online. So hopefully you've had some time to develop your pitch. What we're going to do is, just because of time, we're going to keep moving forward. And what I want you to do is I want you to use that pitch and try and think of ways in which you can evolve it as you progress throughout your career. Okay, cool. So awesome. So I've just got a question, guys, which I think we might just get to now. Do we need to send the pitch example to the chat box? Feel free to put it in the chat box if you want to start sharing it with other people. Quite often in my webinars, guys, I love to get people to share their pitches either in the chat, and so other people can learn from their own pitches as well. So please, feel free to put it in the chat. That'd be awesome. Cool. As we progress, we're going to start talking about online networking. Now, this is the process of using social media and digital tools to build your professional relationships. So when we refer to online networking, there's a couple of fundamentals that you need to get right. Now, I know this may seem like basics for a lot of us, but what we need to think about is when we're talking about our personal brand, it's generally your first point of contact that also has an impact on your brand. So if you think about if someone's going to send you an email, you want to make sure that you have a professional email address. I know this sounds basic, but my first email address when I was young and started applying for jobs was quite embarrassing now. It was champion_, maddog@hotmail.com. So again, I don't recommend using an email address or anything like that. It can just be something as simple as your name at a Gmail account. So hopefully we've all got that dialed. The next part is social media. So what platforms are live and have you cleaned your social media? So this is an important component because a lot of the times when you're applying for jobs, the first thing that people will do is Google your name. Okay. And so what we want to ensure of is that LinkedIn or other professional accounts come up before some of your other social channels. So things like Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, we want to make sure that they're lower down on the search orientation of Google. And we want to make sure that if someone Googles your name, LinkedIn comes up. The other important thing too is a voicemail. And I know this might sound basic, but quite often when we're applying for jobs, it's really important for someone to be able to leave a message with you to talk about a job opportunity. So if you've applied for a job and then they call you and then they can't leave a voicemail, it's very rare that they're going to try and call you back. So the importance of actually having a voicemail where you can have messages and access them and talk and speak back to people or call them back is really, really important. And make sure it's professional. When I used to work in recruitment, I used to ring people to employ them. And quite often, if they had a voicemail, which was like, yo, this is Ty, I'm so sorry I missed your call, but I'll get to it sometime. See ya. It's not professional. It doesn't leave a good feeling to someone who wants to employ you. And you want to make sure that that's working for you in your personal brand. So I know it sounds basic, but we need to make sure we do this. And also take a moment to Google your name. So if you're on a computer or on a smart device, open up a tab and Google your name. See what comes up. Quite often in this digital world, we all have a digital footprint and we need to make sure we can cultivate this and improve this as best as we can. So that comes to the importance of, posting, engaging on things like LinkedIn and so forth, but also checking in with regularly Googling your name to see what comes up. So keep those things in mind. Now, for the rest of the session, we're going to talk about LinkedIn. So with LinkedIn, the numbers who are on LinkedIn are just increasing. I remember when I first jumped on this platform back in like 2014, and I just started my first business, which actually, for the record, failed. So I jumped on LinkedIn. I was all super keen, and the platform has changed a lot since then. Okay. But some of the statistics are completely mind-blowing. So the specific platform hosts up to 10 million active job postings at once. 106 million people access the site monthly. And this is a really important stat. Of 500 million users, only 3 million post weekly. So we saw that from our own poll that a lot of us have a profile, but we don't actually post. And so posting is how we can really develop an audience and develop that personal brand and that awareness of what we do. The other thing too is that the average user spends only 17 minutes per month on LinkedIn. So again, you don't need to put in much time to stand above the rest in terms of your personal branding and your audience generation. And again, 90% of recruiters use LinkedIn, so it's a huge point of contact for people who are wanting to secure work. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a LinkedIn profile now and show you. And we can see here, I've got Sam's profile, our community manager, and this should come up. And what I want you guys to have a look at is the way her profile looks, because your profile acts as your 24-hour resume, okay? And it's perfect to demonstrate all of the work and the portfolio of experience that you've gained over time. So as this loads, I think everyone's internet is acting up with all of everyone working remotely. But we can see here, Sam's got a great cover photo. It's friendly, it's warm, it's inviting for people to want to approach her about work opportunities. You don't need the most fancy professional photography equipment to take a good photo. You can just use your smartphone. We also see here with Sam, she's got some great headline keywords to things around communication, digital marketing, team management. She demonstrates those types of areas in her headline. And these act as key search word functions. So when someone's looking for someone in communications, hopefully Sam will come up because of the keyword in her headline. As we scroll down, she's also got a great banner here, which you can add in, and you can just Google free LinkedIn banners and you can find one that suits you. And again, this adds to her personal brand. We can see her about section, and this is great. Sam's pretty much used her pitch as her about section. So we can see here that she's a communication specialist. It's inviting. She's written it in first person, so it invites the reader in. As we scroll further down, we can see some of her experience. And as we said, this is like a portfolio of your work. So if you've got experience from back home in your home country, if you've got experience here in Australia, put it all in, because it acts as a portfolio of all your experience. And quite often, experience in different industries acts as really, really good transferable skills. So for example, if you used to work, as perhaps a cleaner or as a waiter or as a sales assistant in a shop, these are all really good transferable skills for perhaps areas that you want to go into in your professional life. So it might be you're an IT professional, you wanted to get an IT job. Those skills that you've developed in your casual and part-time work are just as important. So things like being able to arrive on time to a shift, work with other people, communicate. Okay, these are all really good skills, and you can show this through sharing all your experience. As we scroll down, we can see Sam's put her education. She's also put her licenses and certificates there. And then she's also gone on to focus on some skills and endorsements as well. So we recommend putting in at least 6 skills in your LinkedIn profile to ensure that you can generate recruiters or people when you're looking for jobs through the platform. So you can use the jobs tab here. Okay. And further down, you can see other accomplishments too. So the languages that she can speak, you can also see her interests as well. And that'll populate her news feed when you start to log on the platform. So just like Facebook, when you log on, you generate your news feed. And this is really important to be able to start industry conversations and be up to date with industry information. Okay. So that's an example of a profile. Now, we know for some of us on the call, we haven't got a profile. So what you can do is you can scan this QR code and you can get our Creating LinkedIn Profile PDF directly to your smartphone, or you can go to our website and look at our resources and download the resource there. The last couple of things I want to talk about with LinkedIn before we get to some questions is the notions of connections. So when we're looking at connections, it's how we connect, which is the essential parts. This is how we grow our network. So when it comes to the rules of connecting, we want to make sure that you are human, embrace your personality, focus on your lived experiences we've spoken about. Find the rapport between you and that person. Take the time to focus on their profile. Okay. As we said, start to focus your profile towards your ideal self or your professional self that you're aiming for. When we're using the app, though, this is a really important part. So a lot of people will just fire off a connection, and then you'll get a connection on LinkedIn and you'll go, who is this person that's trying to befriend me and try and connect with me? And you have no context. So we want to make sure that we always personalize the invite on your connections when you're inviting people. Now, guys, if you take only one thing away from this webinar, that is the importance of personalizing an invite. Okay. So if you're connecting with someone on your smart device or on your laptop, make sure you always personalize the invite. And I'll show you some examples of some templates. So here we can see, using Sam as an example, she's got 3 great invitation templates. And what you want to do is you always want to introduce yourself whenever you're going to connect with someone. It's like if you were going to a meeting, you don't just immediately shove a business card in someone's face. You want to introduce yourself. You want to understand who they are and introduce yourself in a warm way. The same thing happens with LinkedIn. Okay. You want to introduce someone. And again, that contributes to your personal brand, being warm and friendly. Now, the last part I'm going to quickly talk about is posting and engaging. And this is how you build your personal brand and develop your reputation. So for a lot of us, we don't post or engage too much on the profile just yet. And that can change through some of these tips. Okay. So when we talk about posting and engaging, there's a few different ways that you can create an audience. And what we know is that if you're starting to connect with people on LinkedIn, you can then start to engage them further by posting. And what I always say to students or anyone who is starting to post on LinkedIn, document your day-to-day and your professional life. You don't always have to be sitting there going, I wonder what content needs to go out to my audience. It's more around how can you share with your audience what you're doing and how can you help them through sharing. And quite often what I say is to people who are wanting to start on LinkedIn, share things that you found helpful in your own career, because quite often people will find that useful and use that in their own career. So for example, photos and videos. So if you've just completed a test or an exam or something like that, take a selfie if you're celebrating, talk about the things that you learned from studying, shout out to a few other people that are in the process. I've seen some great photos and posts recently around, people managing their home work-life balance with studying and working at home. If you've got young kids or you've got other people in your home, get creative. We also have the opportunity to write articles. And also LinkedIn's got this cool function where it's about creating stories as well. So if you're on LinkedIn and you're really good on Instagram rather, and you create good stories there, you can do the same process here on LinkedIn. And lastly, if you find any information that you think is relevant for people in your industry, so it might be something like if you're in science and engineering and you find a really good case study that's in a PDF, you can share that on the profile, and you can tag the people who have written it or connect with them or follow them and spread the news and information about what you do and what you found useful in that particular article. So remember, when you're posting and engaging, all you always want to do is try and share information that can benefit other people. And that's what it is. It's developing that online community and therefore increasing your personal brand in the process. Okay. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you today. Time really does fly. Can't believe it. If you want to engage more with our business and engage with some of the work that we do, you can follow our podcast here at Arrive and Thrive on Spotify or iTunes. We've got new episodes coming out in September. We're on a bit of a break to create some new content. So we've got new episodes coming out in September. Got a fair few international students on our podcast too, sharing their stories and stories about certain industries. Feel free to send me an email and follow our updates on Instagram and LinkedIn. It's been a pleasure. So if there's any questions about any of the stuff that we spoke about, please feel free to jump on and put them in the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Tyson. That was amazing. We do have a couple of questions that have come in.
Awesome.
A couple of them are quite similar, actually. Should our students are typically they're quite experienced from back home, and in Australia they've been doing different sorts of jobs. So should they put waitressing jobs, for example, on their LinkedIn profile, or should it be very relevant to their profession from back home?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of students putting down their current experience as well, because as I said, waitressing can be a fantastic job to demonstrate transferable skills. So you think about waitressing, you are constantly managing people's expectations, customer service, time management, attention to detail, which is a huge employability skill. So as long as you're putting that experience and then demonstrating those transferable skills underneath, that's what the magic point is, I think, for that.
That's great. Okay. And another one here, how many paragraphs should a pitch be? Should I mention my experience in the pitch or just attach my resume?
Yeah, so with your pitch, it's all the context of what you're delivering. So if you're talking to someone face-to-face, you're not going to spend probably 5-10 minutes unpacking your pitch. We all know good conversation happens with a bit of a dance in terms you ask someone a question, they'll answer it. They might ask you a question. You're not going to talk like a robot and deliver your pitch. But if you are thinking about you want to put your pitch in your LinkedIn, I would recommend anywhere between 5 to 6 lines for your pitch as a max, because you want to make it short, snappy, and catchy.
So in this case, the pitch you're saying is going to be used on the bio on LinkedIn?
Yeah, in the About Me section.
Okay, cool. And do you recommend adding experience in my profile from my different experience? It's a similar question. I guess different sorts of professional experience in the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. So to give you an example, I trained as an outdoor educator and an outdoor leader. And so my first piece of experience on LinkedIn is outdoor leading. I used to be a whitewater raft lead. And so I had that in my experience. And then I found that there was a lot of transferable skills between taking people into the outdoors and helping people with their career, being able to communicate, listen. And so I always believe whatever experience you've got, put it up there, because you never know how it might support you in your career endeavors.
Great. Another great question from Cynthia, who said, what kind of articles can I post if I don't really have experience?
Yeah, good question. So Cynthia, I would think about, what are some of your interests and what are some of the things that you're passionate about? And what are some of the things that you feel really strongly about? It doesn't always have to be posts about your experience. It could be causes that you feel really strongly about. For example, I feel really strongly about youth homelessness, and it's something that we support in our business. And so I'll post regularly about the difficulties that youth face with homelessness. And that wouldn't necessarily have anything to do with career counselling, but it's something that I'm quite passionate about. And that can also factor in our personal brand. So feel free to put things up that you are interested in and that you feel passionate about.
Great. Yeah, there are quite a few questions about that. Students are wondering what kinds of articles to add, whether they should be connected to their jobs or just something interesting. How relevant does it need to be to the area of work that you're trying to get into?
Yeah, I'd say you want always a bit of a blend. So if you're making a commitment to yourself, okay, I'm going to post, twice a month, once every fortnight. Try and post one thing around your professional life and what's going on in your industry, and then also post something that's personal or more of a passion project. If you're constantly posting about your passion project and your professional life doesn't match that passion project, people might get a little bit confused on your personal branding. So again, try and create a bit of a balance there.
Okay, great. Is it important to have many skills in my LinkedIn profile in terms of the recruitment process?
Yeah, so I would recommend at least having 6 skills there. I read a stat in the recent LinkedIn every year will just pour out stats around the platform. I heard that every 3 minutes someone is hired through LinkedIn. And the other important factor is that when you have at least 6 skills, it all comes down to the algorithms and the keyword searches and things like that. So the more key skills you have, can leverage you up into those search functions when someone's searching for your profession.
Great. Really good question here from Sebastian. What are your thoughts on cold emailing for looking for clients, and what would be good subject lines for a cold email?
Yeah, good question, Sebastian. I personally am not the biggest fan of cold emails. However, I'm a fan of using my network to facilitate an introduction. So if I've seen someone on LinkedIn that I know one of my connections is connected with, I might approach them and say, hey, I'm really hoping to try and connect with this person. Do you feel comfortable facilitating an introduction? Because that becomes then from a cold email to a warm email. If you are wanting to go down the cold email, a catchy subject line is always good. And also promise them that it's not going to take too much of their time either.
Great. I think that's all now. Thank you so much, Tyson, for speaking today to our students. It was really, really interesting. I'll hand it back to Ivan now to finish up.
Thank you so much, and I'm updating my LinkedIn as we speak. That was great. Thank you so much, Tyson. That was really informative, and as you can see from all these questions flowing through, that the students really enjoyed it as well. So we really appreciate you coming today. We do have another MiniCon session, which is starting a niche label with Christy Power, starting in 6 minutes. So if you want to join that, there is a link in the chat. So please check the link and do join us for this session or any other sessions that you're interested in. So do keep a lookout. So once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you, Tyson.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your MiniCon.
Thanks, Tyson. And just a reminder to our students, you will be sent reminders about these sessions to your phone and to your email. You will also be able to watch all of these sessions on the APC YouTube channel. Okay, if you're unable to see any of these sessions, they will be available to catch up later. Bye.
Bye.